Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Teehashee here with our RogueTech commentary. We're here looking at the campaign mission Liberation of Panzer. And today we will perhaps finally be talking about the Centurion. So in quite a few games, including this one, including MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, very early mech you get is the Centurion, right? And the Centurion, let's do engineering really quick. Let's see, probably still sticking to repair and refit since we still don't have our new pilots. For those of us that were watching our MRB saga, we ended at 191 points, just 9 points shy of our goal. And that's how life is. We do have the second mech bay now, so we might call up other mechs. We could refit this crab too. We have the Griffin. We have the Blackjack. We could call the Blackjack and the Vindicator back up. We have a Cicada. Three laser, three missile, five jump jets. That's all on the same side. We've got two scout mechs already. We've got two decent snipers. And I believe we only have one let's see. Yeah, we've got one sniper, one missile boat, one cavalry, two scouts. Let's go ahead and refit the crab. It doesn't need much of a refit. The crab is going to be a sniper as well. But for the most part, you just end up leaning on those large lasers. Probably gonna do the crab, interestingly, can mount jump jets, and it's a good mech to put jump jets on. There's three. That would give it limited jumping capability. Probably all that you would really need for a scout slash sniper sort of thing. The biggest thing is you want it to be able to continue shooting nonstop with both large lasers, since that's all it's bringing into combat. I think we could drop one heatsink and put the other two jump jets on it. Might be worth it. Seems like it's worth it. Let's look at our heat sinking. So we're sinking 45 per turn and generating 36. That's oversinking by quite a bit, but I also don't think I want to change it. Not for now, at least. We might change our mind. So we've got probably enough mechs for now. We'll bring other mechs to bear, especially once we got a heavy mech in here. We might change things up a little bit. How far out are we? We're still 13 days out. Let's bring up one more mech. It's probably going to be the Griffin since it's the heaviest we've got. Four days to ready. Okay, back on track. Okay, so Centurion's a medium mech of 50 tons. 64 kph max speed, making it slow for a medium mech. The most so it's base loadout, autocannon 10, I believe 2 tons of reloads in the right torso, LRM 10 in the left torso with 1 ton of reloads in the same torso, 1 or 2 in this game, I can't remember, and 2 medium lasers in the center torso. We got our stuff done. Griffin's ready for its refit. This build, I know we're looking at a Griffin, but we're talking about a Centurion. I'm sorry if that's confusing. If I was a bigger, brainier kind of thing, I would have split that out and made it a little bit easier. But I'm not those things. Large laser plus missiles, probably pretty good. But yeah, boy, look at all those LRM5s. Just slap 3 of them on there, I think. Looks like we can even go up a little bit, but we're going to want jump jets and we're going to want heat sinks. We'll do our jump jets first. So yeah, that's pretty much for your Centurion. That build is pretty much the sort of mixed bag inner sphere gobbledygook you should be used to seeing. Basically, a sliding scale of weapons that ramps up as the mech draws near, because inner sphere battle tactics basically boil down to walking at the enemy. Feel free to challenge me if you think that that's BS or an unfair assessment, but you know, that's how it boils down. Even in this game where you really have to break the habit of keeping your mech from just walking at the enemy, like even as you do a C formation, rock back and forth towards the enemy to slow yourself from advancing too fast, you will find yourself advancing too fast. We've got 2 heat sinks in there. We're going to throw another one. And then we need to do LRM ammo. Probably do 2 tons of reloads. Seems pretty good. We could put it on the head. Sorry, quick note on this Griffin. The large laser replacement for the PPC is much better in this game because PPCs have a minimum range. So at least giving it the large laser eliminates that. And leaving it with its 5 jump jets and high heat sinking capacity will mean we'll be able to jump away from something that closes on us too much unless it's a faster, lighter mech. But even then, we'll have our large laser. Okay, enough of that. we could bring the Griffin to bear if we need to. So, so that's basically the only positive thing. That sort of like sliding scale idea where the Centurion is meant to walk at the enemy and have guns to fire at it the entire time. But therein kind of lies the rub. Because if you know anything about the Centurion, it's meant to work in a lance with the. I'll just keep buffing that until it's as good as it can get. It's meant to work in a lance with the trebuchet, and as you know, the trebuchet is faster, quite a bit faster than the Centurion. Um, and while it's got many variants, some of them cavalry variants, it doesn't really like its long range fire support, which uh, pushes the Centurion unavoidably into the scout slash like brawler space with its because you're going to be in the minimum range of the missiles. It's going to happen, unavoidable. I've got like there's nothing you can do about that, right? And so what happens basically is you lose the firing capability of your LRMs as you close with the enemy, and you're up there facing them down with the autocannon and the two medium lasers in the center torso. What's the first thing that happens? Well, your autocannon 10 is out on an arm. That arm gets blown off. You have two medium lasers and an LRM 10, and you've lost at this point. Um, Not only that, but considering where the ammo is, if you get ammo racked on either torso, you're going to lose one of your primary sources of firepower. And if you can't, especially in this game, if you can't split your fire using the basic Centurion, you never get to use your LRMs. You have to have multi-target. And that's not the worst thing. Multi-target should be on lots of pilots, but something to consider. All right, let's do the story mission, and then we'll get back to complaining about the Centurion. Alright, we're going to go save House Decimus. Let's learn about this debris field. Oh, that's interesting. So the Amar Civil War is what destroyed the Star League and kind of fractured the Inner Sphere for pretty much all of history. So Mirai is going to go. We're going to do our best. She's flying the Leopard in, though, so that's not the end of the world. Leopards are pretty maneuverable for what they are, which is a big shoebox with wings. This is kind of interesting storytelling. It happens in a lot of video games, by the way, where like the major war, we're always like some sort of special ops units, and the major war is happening. Well, we are doing our thing in the background of a major war, but the major war is happening in the background of the video game, right? And happens in most games because how on earth is a game going to bring you the feeling that you're in a major war? Some games can. Usually they're like 4Xs or RTSs or something like that, where you can, like, the units are little tiny things on the map and it doesn't have to render huge, crazy stuff happening all the time. Or if it does, it's very, very small. And so you get this kind of thing. But in RogueTech, it's done pretty well, where you're in the background of the war, but you're basically doing stuff that is, since it is like Black Ops, stuff that is just as important. Where in like a shooter, when you're doing stuff like this, it's like, oh, we need to take out this pillbox and they'll never see it coming. And it's like you take out the pillbox, and what did you do? You took out one pillbox in the Greater War. Where here, what we're going to do is stop it, the Directorate from being able to bring their reinforcements to bear, which is the only thing that will make this invasion a success. And if it doesn't come together, and it's like proper revolutionary tactics where it's just high risk, high reward, we have to do this and get it right, or it's not going to come together. Or what happens with most revolutions is the revolution just goes on forever, like leaderless, without much strategy, and lots of people just die. Good plug for avoiding revolutions if you can. Okay, here we go. So Sumire just learned that she's got to pilot it in by hand, but that's okay. Here's the Perdition Massacre. It's the Directorate ploy to bring the Taurian Concordant into the war on their side. This is funny. I like how our commander is just a little naive most of the time, but it's done for storytelling, right? It's done so that the character can learn, or the player can learn with the character. So it's not the worst thing. This is an atrocity. In the predictable fashion, she says. So it looks like, see, Calderon won't believe anything Hansa Davian has to say. Of course, Davian is a Lyran, um, not from the Federated Suns. At least I'm pretty sure I've got that right. No, am I backwards? I'm thinking of the Steiners, I'm pretty sure. And this is correct. Pretty sure I'm backwards. There are so many like names and characters, it is hard to keep track of all of them. Alexander Madeira says that this accelerates our timetable, but you're already in a revolution, you're already moving just as fast as you can, so it's kind of a pointless sentiment. In war in general, a sort of commander who's standing around not doing much like Madeira does, saying we need to move faster is like the least helpful thing that could possibly happen. You need real solution. Yeah, we can focus on Mastiff's death, but let's be a bit more positive than that. Okay, so let's look at our Centurion. Got a firepower of 3. Crab has a firepower of 1. Centurion still has its indirect fire, which means we'll probably leave it in. Even the Griffin has a little bit less firepower than the Centurion according to the game, so we'll probably leave. And we're going to talk about the Centurion, so be a little insensitive to kick the Centurion out of the game when we're about to chat about it, right? But I would totally do it because it's the Centurion, and not a fan. Not a big fan. I think that's all we need from these guys for now. Okay, loading screen, hopes and dreams. We just learned that the wildfire in Siberia is bigger than all active wildfires combined. And if you're listening to this from the future, which you undoubtedly are, um, basically the time that this movie was made in is a time of like several serious wildfires destroying actual municipal areas, which when I was younger was unheard of, right? Firefighting efforts were basically so successful that they had stopped fires from even happening above 90% of the time, right? Now, of course, all of the forests are so old and so dry from like lack of logging, climate change. Lots of factors have played into these massive old forests, and now they're just big tinder boxes. So we got this Siberian fire that's bigger than all of our active fires in the world combined. Mostly because it's Siberia, and a lot of that area is just inaccessible. How are you going to fight fires up there, right? So it's just burning. Our hopes, well, our hopes are for rain, rain in Siberia. Someone's laughing, but you get my sentiment. I hope. Okay. Um, this is I think this is a fun mission. I consider this a fun mission. It's also super easy to screw up right at the beginning because basically you do a blitzkrieg, and you need to take this area as quickly as possible whilst defeating as many enemies as possible. And they're not slouches. They're like I think they're SRM carriers, which are scary, scary things. Okay. This mission is also conducted on a timer. First couple times I did this, I massively screwed it up until I brought in a lance with jump jets. And again, mission built around having a lance with jump jets, even though your intel says jump jets aren't really. They don't say anything about jump jets, right? They say. Um, okay, we've got another dropship coming in, enemy dropship. Okay. If things go right, we get turrets on our side, which is great. But yeah, we're going to come down here. Um, we're just going to, we've got the range. Um, what I'd like to do is stop in the trees if possible. Not looking terribly possible. But it doesn't really matter. The whole thing is just get down here. How you conducted this part of the mission used to be super important. When you could like attack right out of the non-combat phase, but here it forces you to position your units, which is better. I'm not going to say it's not better. That's good positioning. I like that. Okay. uh, it would be fun to continue gushing about this mission, but I'm going to talk about the Centurion some more. So basically, the Centurion has two major weaknesses in both torsos that can lead to ammo racks, but also guaranteed to lead to a disabled major weapon in many cases, you leave a Centurion walking around on two legs with. See, she says recommend you engage them at long range, but we're going to punch them right in the face, or at least that's the plan. Anywho, you leave the Centurion sort of like this walking torso, right? With two medium lasers to its name, and it's just it's just the saddest thing ever, saddest thing you've ever seen. And so, can we get that in the Goldilocks zone? We can. We could have reserved, that might have been smarter, but it's also just as good to hit these SRM carriers before they know what's happening. That one's dead. You gotta watch this one over here coming around. And so, after many tries, especially in MechWarrior 5, where they give you one, it doesn't even have a burst fire on it, so you get this gosh dang mech with an autocannon 10 on its arm. It's a gun with, like, especially in that game, a really bizarre range that it is optimal in. It's got this weird range. It's not even a burst fire, so it's pretty difficult to use. I'm sure we got tons of pro gamers out there going, oh, you just need to, get good scrub. Which is fine. Like, if you're all about the autocannons in that game, I like the burst fires because they are easy to use under pressure, which is where guns go in war, right? It's like you look at the machine gun or anything else where you have like high caliber rifles being replaced by machine guns, not because machine guns do more damage. They don't. They're just easier to fire in combat when you want to not be a bad shot. And so MechWarrior 5 gave you the burst fire, and it's a much more reliable weapon to use under pressure, which is what it's for. And you don't get it. You don't get it right out of the gate because it's a better tool, and they admittedly don't want you to have that better tool, because if you did, it would be too good, maybe. Probably the argument there. We're going to try and come about here, because I think this is an SRM carrier. Is it 60 tons? Yeah, it is. Here we go. No, it's a bulldog. Oh, well. I look silly, but that's okay. Maybe we can destroy it outright. Doesn't look like it. Missiles are terrible in this game. Missiles are a terrible pick for destroying vehicles. I think the Bulldog has an autocannon 10 on it. It's hitting the building way more than they're hitting us. Okay. And pretty much went as well as we could hope. We'll have T take out this vehicle that's pristine by stepping on it. Blam. Another major issue with the Centurion, like we talked about, in compared to the Trebuchet, or compared to even other mechs with its speed profile, is 64 kph is pretty dang slow. Now let's compare it to the Trebuchet, same tonnage, but you know, like, even so, let's say the two of them have to fight. Uh, Trebuchet versus the Centurion. Trebuchet still has indirect fire, is much faster, and carries 3 medium lasers for that short range battle. So it is entirely dependent on the Centurion hitting those autocannon 10 shots to win that 1v1. But you can't really catch the Trebuchet, and the Trebuchet does not need to be nearly as accurate with nearly as many guns, right? Um, Here are our turrets. We'll start our scout doing the run on the objective. And so, I consider that uh, a pretty safe loss for the Centurion, mostly because the Centurion, despite being like a brawler, it really isn't that well armored. Like, I think lore wise, and it carries a shield, right? Lore wise, it gets kind of a reputation for being well armored, but it's not really that well armored. And so it's not that hard to get it to break, especially under pressure. Okay, let's make it a bit fairer fight. Um, or if you guys think this is a fair fight, you might laugh. Let's say the Centurion is going up against a Hunchback, right? And I like the Hunchback when trying to figure out whether or not the Centurion is any good. We're going to do everything we can to protect our turrets. I don't know if we can jump within sensor range of anything. We can jump within targeting range, so that usually means we're good. And we're going to start shooting at the Jenner. Actually, we might reserve. Why not? Here's a Centurion. This one's got a laser, though, much better because it doesn't have the range or accuracy problems that the autocannon does. Just have to manage heat. And the Centurion, of all the problems it's a dragon. Of the problems it's got, the Centurion does not have heat problems. It's great. A lot of early mechs are pretty solid heat-wise. And so go ahead and let it use a laser. Use a big laser. You don't need an autocannon. Alright, now we're going to do this. Sorry, just checking my placement really quick. So, Hunchback, right? Hunchback versus we're just barely in range, but we're going to sensor lock him. He's still got a lot of evasion. He's clearly a scout. So the Hunchback has the autocannon 20, but the value of the autocannon 20 is not just in its, of course, immense and terrifying size. It's in its placement, right? It's in the torso. They have the same speed, and they have, outside of the differences in autocannons, um, they have pretty much the same like laser capacity. 2 medium lasers. The Hunchback has 1 small laser if it gets properly close, which is not terribly likely to happen in this fight, because if the Centurion knows anything about what it's doing with its life, it's going to be circle strafing at a long distance, using those LRMs until they are empty, and firing the AC-10, right, until you can't get any good out of it anymore. And the reason why you might do that, we're hoping that the turrets are going to shred this Jenner now that we've made it an easy target. The reason why you might do that is, of course, closing at that kind of range. You should have saved your PPCs for last. See what I mean? Closing at that kind of range is suicide against the Hunchback, because all the Hunchback needs to do is get one or two proper shots on either the torsos or one of the arms. So that's three primary targets at this point. Or heaven forbid it doesn't hit any of that and hits you either in the head or the center torso. The only thing it can't really shoot at the leg are the legs, which is not a primary target for the Centurion anyway because it's slow. And it's also like you look at its profile, and it's not hard to hit in the upper body either. Let's go ahead and bring this around and let our missiles do the talking. Do we have the damage for a kill shot? I guess we should try for it. It doesn't seem terribly likely because our angle is still looking at the front of the mech, but we'll try it. Hey, we did it. So yeah, you kind of end up getting this mech that can't, for the life of it, unlike the Hunchback, can't punch above its weight, right? Uh, it doesn't know what range it's supposed to operate at. It's can be easily zoned out on one hand, but if you close too close to it, it's very uncomfortable as well. And so, uh, it's slow, right? It's thinly armored. It's got major problems, major design flaws, in my opinion, when compared to any other mech of its weight class unaltered, except for maybe some of the 40-tonners, which I'm sure we'll talk about some other time. Here's our Hunchback coming in. He's a primary threat. We got to take him seriously. But more than anything, we're just trying to make sure the turrets are staying alive and have relatively easy shots. Let's reserve one more time and let the dragon move. Here he comes. I like dragons. They're big fat guys, but they're fast, which is very funny to me. Sending out our scout to do the big flank. 11 rounds remain, so we gotta get moving. And it sounds like in terms of range and line of sight, it's going to be the dragon that we're shooting at, but that's fine because the sensor lock will put us in good position to deal damage to it. So how do we go about fixing the Centurion? Does it need fixing? I think it needs fixing. Are there variants of the Centurion that fix it? Like there is one variant of the Centurion that does she only have indirect fire? No, she's got a direct shot on the Hunchback. That's what we want to see. Okay. Oh, she got a hit in. Nice shooting. Yeah, so there's a variant that's got an autocannon 20 and an LRM-10, which completely ignores the lesson that I'm trying to teach about the Centurion here. Like autocannon 20 on the arm, ammo in the torso, just like before, and then destroy the other torso, and the LRM is out of the game as well. And you know what I mean? That's kind of the worst, is it not? How is that not just the absolute worst? I'll just sprint down here a little bit. If they shoot at me, that's fine. We just don't want them shooting at turrets. You might be confused about that, but it's because the turrets will very consistently have the flanking shot in this combat, just like that. That's a great example. And so, two bad hits, mech is dead, and so we want them shooting at us. And the goal is not even to do that much damage from up here. It's just to disable as many mechs as possible and keep everyone busy. Panthers coming up. Yeah, whenever you fight those Centurions, you know, you fight a Centurion that's got an autocannon 20 on the arm, what are you going to shoot at? The arm. Like, it's obvious, right? And what are you going to hit most of the time, right? Well, you probably hit the arm or the torso. So, worst case scenario, you destroy the wrong part of the mech. You get an ammo rack on autocannon 20 ammo. Not that the size of the ammo necessarily matters, but you know what I mean? It's a big boom. I hear that Hunchback is getting into optimal range to bring their big gun to bear, so we're going to start taking them seriously. Here comes the dragon. Da, 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 sort of weird piloting there. Obviously going for a better shot rather than evasion. But we're gonna be punishing them for that. Okay. We're gonna take the Hunchback seriously though, which means we're gonna perform this jump here. They're not gonna shoot the scout at all. Pretty obvious at this point. And then we're gonna sensor lock the Hunchback. More sensor locks going out. That one was pretty unnecessary. Okay. I like this here because it's hard for them to get line of sight on the Wolverine, and I'm pretty sure we still have the angle. We do. We've got coolant vent. Let's just let her loose. Bam. Centurion also has a dead arm, or it's the arm with the shield on it, but there isn't, like, in MechWarrior 5, you definitely could have had a button that you could hold down. Just like any other weapon, the shield is a defensive weapon, and you could activate it and hold the arm in front of you, either up or down, or however they decided was the best way to protect it. And instead, it sort of just kind of hangs out at your side, and you're forced to rotate your entire torso, despite the fact that that's not a limitation of the mech. Like, if it was, if the arm was fixed that way, sure, whatever. But it's not. It's a free-floating arm, and you could totally... We're gonna precision strike. You could totally do it, you know. Hold your shield up, shoot around your shield. Why else have it? And, you know, There are good times and bad times to have dead arms on mechs. You think about the spider or the javelin that's got everything on the torsos, but they're fast mechs and it's easy to rotate the mechs and bring those center torso guns to bear without them being on an arm. That's what we like to see. And then you compare it to something like this Centurion, and it's got this dead arm that really should probably have another medium laser on it. You know, if we're looking at fixing the actual design of the mech. But rather than fixing the design of the mech, let's work with what we've got, like practical, pragmatic people. So look at our Centurion, right? Look at how we built it here. In MechWarrior 5, it does not have the hard points to do that, so you can at me about that. Um, but in this one, right, we got the our giant medium or our giant large laser, and it's on a place. Let's look at this rear shot, see if it's worth anything. We're probably it's a Centurion. It's no threat. We're basically just gonna leave it there. Try and knock out this autocannon 20 instead. So there it goes. So he's out of the fight. We can safely ignore him. What are you gonna do? Take a swing at us? No, you got his swing in there. Okay, well, good for you, sir. You did a thing. Oh, you got a small laser too. That's adorable. Wow. It's like he came to play the game. We might get that shot on his butt anyway. Yeah, we do have it. We're gonna reserve though and see what happens. Hunchback is gonna stand up, but he's having a real bad day, so bringing the medium lasers to bear. Okay. And the dragon. Dragon is standing still. This actually would have been a decent time to shoot at the dragon, but no biggie. Okay. Looks like a side shot. Again, I'm not all that convinced shooting at the side of the Centurion is that valuable, so I think we'll punish the dragon. I think originally also one of the Centurion's center torso lasers was rear facing. If you can believe that, like that's gonna be the thing that's gonna clinch your victory, or some analyst decided like, oh, what if they're like behind me? And everyone was like, then turn your mech around and bring all of your front facing guns to bear. That's pretty solid damage. And then we got our ace in the hole, behemoth. Hopefully she'll give us the instability we want. So what we've got here is we've got a Centurion that's got an autocannon 5, and pretty much no matter what you do, take the autocannon 10 off and put on an autocannon 5, because that will give you the range and damage profile and rate of fire befitting a a long-range sniper, that's what the Centurion really is it's a sniper. Um, you look at my Kintaro, two medium lasers for close range defense, and that's it. That's also what the Centurion has. Not this Centurion, but in less flexible games, that's what the Centurion has for self defense. So lean into long range. Fire the autocannon 5. Fire your. Probably you could bump it up to an LRM 15, LRM 10. Keep the LRMs rolling. Move the ammo to the center torso, and the Centurion becomes a much more viable long range threat. Let's see, we're gonna go ahead and not let them beat on our mech anymore and get this tower destroyed. I believe I can fly. Okay. We can wipe that evasion off the Panther. The Panther's also already moved, so we'll do that. That seems helpful. Getting a shot on the right side of the Panther, also good. We didn't really talk about the Panther. Panther's got a lot of similar problems to the Centurion, but the Panther gets a pass because it's a light mech, and you should sympathize with light mechs, and B, it has jump jets, so it can actually, you know, be the I honestly think if we do that punch, we'll get the knockdown. We'll either get the knockdown or destroy the leg. It's tempting to go for the knockdown without destroying the leg. This is what I mean about the game constantly pushing you to advance, because we have absolutely no reason to advance other than to continue to stack evasion and do stuff like that. So we're gonna split fire. Actually, let's split it with the Centurion. It's his turn. Not quite enough. Okay, just saying good morning to my lovely bride. She is everything to me. Okay, we're gonna fire the LRM 10s, and that should be enough. Pretty much afford to be gentle with the dragon at this point. It's having a bad day. There we go. Duh. It would be nice to salvage the dragon. We will get one that is unarmed for free from this mission, but dragons in this game make excellent scout mechs and brawlers, and they can do cool things. So if we can get closer to two of them, that would be ideal. Okay. Actually, let's just reserve up. Dragon's gonna get back up. And then what? Is he gonna punch someone? That's what it looks like, yeah. Ouch. Dragons are very solid in melee combat in this game. Same as the Shadow Hawk, I'm pretty sure. Is an arm hit? Yeah, that's makes sense. We're not really in any danger, or we don't have much fear at this point, but just show our back to this guy. We'll try and take this. Center torso's looking pretty bad. It's pretty much one shot from anything. That all went into the center torso. Okay, that's what always happens. I'm amazed that thing didn't die. It's gonna. Duh. There we go. Yeah, that arm. All the shots going into the back. Didn't even fire your you're at short range and didn't even fire your SR missiles. So what do we have left? The Trebuchet got annihilated almost instantly, so not really worried about him. Let's go ahead and jump behind this guy. Pretty much given up on the hope for salvage from this mission. Centurion is doing a thing. Shooting at a Shadowhawk. Okay. We'll just reserve up. And we're going to this building. I'm just going to keep jumping because we got zero heat problems.